Hey everyone, this is acyuta-bhava from Nightlight Astrology. Happy Monday, everybody. Today we're going to take a look at the combustion of Mars and a few other transits that we'll preview but talk about later in the week. Before I put the real-time clock up and dive in, I want to remind you all that my new program, Ancient Astrology for the Modern Mystic, is beginning next month. We're just over a little over a month out from the start of the new program, and I'm going to show you where you can learn more about it. Let me just pull this up really quick here. So you can go to my website, nightlightastrology.com, go to the courses page and click on the first year course. If you want to take a really awesome immersive program that I've designed, this program starts November 13th. There are 30 classes on the year, plus 12 guest lectures, plus breakout study sessions, as much bonus content and reading and homework as you want. There's also discussion forums. Students can ask me questions year round about the material you're learning. We have live clients in. It's a great program. Really excited to be starting up with a new group. This will be the 23rd group that I'll have led through this program. Really excited for it. It starts on Saturdays, November 13th. You can attend live or watch the classes remotely at your own pace. You get to download and keep all the material through our class website. You can also check out need-based tuition if people are really wanting to take the class, but you have a really limited budget. Maybe you're working only part-time right now, or you're a single parent, or whatever the case might be. You can check out the need-based assistance, and maybe that'll help. Also, we do have a payment plan, and then the best deal we have is our early bird payment, which you can save $500 off using. So hope to see some of you guys in class soon. If you have any questions about it, feel free to email us, info@nightlightastrology.com. All right, let's put up the real-time clock and take a look at what's going on today. So here's the real-time clock, and I've taken out the outer planets just for a moment to kind of focus on the traditional view of the chart. One of the things that you'll notice right now is the Sun and Mars coming together in a conjunction. This is an old Mars. It's sort of like a dying Mars, because one of the ways that ancient astrologers conceptualized the synodic cycle of the Sun was that the conjunction between the Sun and a planet was a critical moment of rebirthing within its cycle. Now, there's different ways of conceptualizing that, if it's direct or retrograde with, say, Mercury and Venus. But this critical moment of the synodic conjunction with the superior planets, that would be Mars and Jupiter and Saturn, is really important because it marks a turning point for that planet in a kind of story that's being told. You could say a developmental story in the course of your life in whatever area of your chart it's going through. So this rebirthing moment of Mars is important, but the downside is that on the front end, before the synodic conjunction occurs, the synodic cycle's rebirthing, Mars is said to be combust, which means it's sort of being burnt up by the sun. And when the sun comes into the conjunction with Mars, you're getting a Mars that's like going to display either its weaker qualities, it can't access its best qualities because it's almost like weak, or it's as though there's a feeling of a little bit more of a difficult or frustrating feeling surrounding Mars when it's combust. And sometimes it'll lead to, you know, the darker or more challenging sides of Mars on display for a little bit. So we're dealing with something like that right now. But not only that, we're also dealing with Mercury in Libra, who is retrograde and heading right into the mix of those planets. And that's going to happen if we just flash forward here a little bit. If we go forward to, say, the 9th, that's just in about 5 days from now, you're going to see that the three of them all get together at the rebirthing moment of the conjunction, which we're call a cazimi when they're right at the same degree of the sun. So there's this transformation that's taking place this week, and there could be some frustration or a feeling of breakdown and difficulty before we get there. The other thing that's happening is, of course, we have both Jupiter and Saturn stationing, getting ready to station and turn direct in the next couple of weeks. So both planets are moving very slowly. And then on top of that, we have Venus in Scorpio. Remember, Mars in Libra is already in its detriment. And then you have Venus in Scorpio also in its detriment. And Venus in Scorpio is going into the last critical and malefic degrees of Scorpio. The last degrees of every sign are in the bounds, what we call the bound rulerships of the malefics, Saturn and Mars. So you have some real challenges going on. The debilitated Venus and Mars. Mars is combust. Venus is entering the last critical degrees. Now, there's good news on the flip side of this. For example, when we look at the new moon, let me just fast forward this a little bit. And you look at the new moon coming through on the 6th, and you can see that this new moon draws on some of these themes. Here's, again, you can see just kind of the log jam of planets in Libra. Oh, look, there's Venus culminating at the last degree of Scorpio. So the moon cycle ahead picks up on all of these themes, and it's toned at the beginning by the challenge of these culminating difficulties that I've been talking about here this morning. But if you move forward just a little bit, by the 7th, Venus moves into Sagittarius, a Jupiter-ruled sign, and then Venus starts to have reception with Jupiter through a sextile, which is of the nature of Venus. That's nice. The moon's still going to be going through the burnt road here, the via combusta. It's going to be going around the new moon through Libra, and then Scorpio, the place where the sun and the moon are both in their fall. So it's the early part of the cycle is like sort of chop wood, carry water feeling. It's not easy. And then things do pick up. Again, Venus enters Sagittarius, get the moon into Sagittarius by about the 10th. At that point in time, then you're starting to see the separation between Mercury, the sun, and Mercury, Mars, and the sun. That's nice. You're seeing Saturn stationing and turning direct by the 11th. That's pretty good. Right. And then the story of the month goes on from there. But the simple point is just that you're going to start to see the turning point of the cycle. And this is what we want. I mean, we want to see some of these dignities change. Eventually, when Mars gets out of Libra, for example, that'll be another big dignity change. That's a little bit further down the line. But even just the separation from the combustion between Mars, Mercury, and the sun, that should be a good thing. But this means that between now and next week, there are quite a few planetary challenges in the air. So what to make of those? I think, it's always good to be prepared and know what to expect. Well, one of the things that I did an I Ching reading this morning asking for some advice about this, and I got hexagram number 22, which is sometimes translated as decoration. And it's a funny hexagram. It makes total sense on a few different levels. Decoration is a hexagram that says, like an example from a YouTube I Ching teacher that I watched, said something like, if you're bringing somebody flowers, the paper or plastic that the flowers are wrapped in is like it's not the essence, but it's the thing surrounding it. And it's important to have, like, you don't want to just, you want to have a vase or something to put the flowers in, something to wrap them in when you go deliver them. But the flowers themselves are the important thing. When this hexagram comes up, it's almost always a message that we need to be careful that we're not getting caught up in the paper rather than, what really matters, which is the flowers, or the vase versus the flowers. So you want to make sure that you're not getting caught up on the adornments or the decoration or the thing surrounding the essence of something. What is the essence of the thing that we're dealing with? Mars and Libra could very easily quibble or fight over things that are rather superficial compared to the essence of the problem, or the essence of what needs to be talked about, or the essence of a solution that needs to be found, or a compromise that needs to be made. It could end up quibbling over what something looks like, or what something appears to how something appears to others or the public. Things could get a little, what do we want to call it, political this week. And I'm not talking about, politics in the government. I'm talking about in our lives. We could be faced with decisions where we're more concerned about what other people think, or how something is looking or appearing, or what's being said or done in a very superficial manner compared to the essence of something. I think this is important to note, because when we have a bunch of planets like this in the sign of Libra, this is one of maybe the core archetypal challenges of the sign of Libra. In fact, in not too long, I'm sure the next video or two in my series on misconceptions of the zodiac, we'll be talking about this in depth. But one of the things that the sign of Libra points to is the quality of judgment, and that we all have to be wise and careful judges. We all have to have discernment. at the same time, we have to know have to know how to judge the heart or the essence of something. It's, for example, it's like understanding the difference between what somebody did and what someone's intention or motivation was behind what they did. Because sometimes, and we do this in the courts, sometimes a person commits a crime and the crime was not intentional, as a different kind of sentence or carries a different kind of consequence than if someone premeditated something. So understanding the essence of a person, understanding the essence of a situation, of the essence of something, it goes beyond the, we can easily try to dance our way around difficult things in life by focusing on what was said, not how it was said, or what I did and not why I did it. And a lot of that is what I mean by life getting a little political this week, because this combustion with Mars and Libra can point to different kinds of relational conflicts, or conflicts of image, or conflicts of interest, and the challenge of sticking to the essence of something, the heart of something, being wise in how we judge and evaluate what's really going on at the heart of something versus what it looks like or how it appears. So that's one thing to think about with this hexagram. Another thing to think about is how can we make the essence of something more relatable or understandable or compatible, or how can we, it's, for example, marketing is inevitable. How do I take and, I have something that's of value, for example, I create a product on the marketplace, and I have to make sure that I communicate it or talk about it in a way that people will know, oh, this is a valuable thing that I could use in my life. So, it's not to say that the decor is always just some kind of necessary evil or something like that. Decor is a way of brightening something. For example, you go into a temple or a sanctuary. Well, the essence of the sanctuary might be to sit down and pray, but to be surrounded by the iconography and the religious artifacts and paintings or stained glass windows, it's conducive to prayer, right? So similarly, there might be questions this week about how to make something more palatable, or how to make something that's at its core good or useful more easily appreciated, or more approachable, or help others to be more receptive to something. Or how do we, it's like, for example, I know that a lot of people, you'll use like a calorie counting app, and then you get into your macros and you're counting your calories in different ways, and you're saying, okay, well, I've got to have this many carbohydrates and this many, this much protein or sugar or what, fat, whatever. If you do, some people do this, not everyone does. Your experience of eating can be devastated by all of the numbers and tracking and whatever. So how do you make sure that your carefully measured meal is still actually sensual and enjoyable? So that's a question for this week as well, because the other thing that this combust Mars and Libra might want to do is sort of, like there's almost a way in which we can go, the opposite problem can happen. Excuse me, I'm having trouble articulating myself. Where you can try to get something accomplished, but forget that how you do it matters. It's the same thing if you want to get a point across, but somehow you lack tact or grace, or you're not careful in the way that you communicate something. Well, the same thing could be said for anything in our lives. We're trying to get something done, but we don't have a way of making sure that it's a palatable, enjoyable, nice way of doing it. That can be really problematic, because things that are not easily digestible are easily rejectable, right? So at any rate, these are some of the things that I'm seeing in the air with Mars getting kind of burnt up. Now, what we're going to do as the week goes on is we're going to talk about the transition that's made when Mars goes into the heart of the sun, at which point Mars becomes Cazimi. And then there's a sense of actual empowerment between the two, where, it's almost like a deal can be worked out, or some kind of agreement can be reached, or a strategy can be agreed upon. And the feeling of turning a corner is really close at hand. it's almost like hard negotiations, right? Internally or within our lives this week. Remember what's essential. Remember what's really important. Remember what the heart is really saying. At the same time, make sure that things aren't too stripped down and functional or utilitarian at the cost of not being palatable and beautiful, enjoyable, tasteful. Make sure that you're receptive to what's happening, that other people are receptive to what's happening. You might have a good or a just solution, but it's also got to be something that warms the heart or that makes people glad or that delights the senses on some level. It's important. The little things like that are still important. They're not the flowers, the vase is still important to the flowers. The flowers might be the main thing, but the space around it is also important. The way we package and handle things is also important. So a marriage of those things this week could be a little frustrating to have to deal with, but that's what we're looking at. So I would love to hear your stories. If you guys have any stories that you want to share this week as Mars is combust over the next few days. Now, one more thing I should mention, how long does this last? Let's get, in case I haven't spelled that out yet. So this is something that's you're going to see once the sun gets onto the same degree as Mars, then we're really talking. So that's when things start to really turn a corner. So let me just back it up. You're looking at about Wednesday of this week that the sun moves on to the 14th degree of Libra, at which point the cazimi starts happening. And that's when you're going to start to see a much more empowering dynamic. And then the new moon is also happening on the 6th as well. So the Wednesday of this week is really the turning point because we're going from dark moon right into the new moon. Now, there's still a few days after that where things are a little shaky, shall we say. Then I would say, by the end of this week, Saturday into Sunday, should start to feel like things are really starting to the momentum is really starting to change, and maybe the feeling of struggle and combativeness around things is dying down. Even by October 9th, you should start to feel like the challenges of this week should only last till about Saturday, in other words. But even by Wednesday, you'll see the new moon coming through. So at any rate, love to hear your stories. Put the hashtag grabbed and then use the description of the transit that you're talking about. If it's the Mars combustion this week, then just put that in there and then leave a couple of sentences, very concise description of what you're seeing or noticing. We might use that for a future episode of storytelling. And then in the meantime, like I said, we're going to keep breaking this sequence down as the week goes on. And we may throw in some other stuff too. I think we're going to be catching up with the misconceptions of the Zodiac series. We have Virgo next. Don't forget my new class is coming up. Make sure you sign up soon. It's a good thing for people to sign up if they can now, because you can get ahead on ordering a few books for the course. Most of the books are optional, but it's a good thing to get ahead on some of that stuff. We'll be sending out orientation materials in the next week or two here. And when we do that, you'll be able to order a few books in advance. It's nice to have those. So you can check that out again on my website, nightlightastrology.com. Any questions that you have about the course whatsoever, if you have questions about need-based tuition assistance, look it up on the website or email us info@nightlightastrology.com. Hope to see some of you guys soon. Take it easy, everyone. Bye.